I'm Justin Davis, and this is Drone Camps RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. We're going to do another FPV flight review for you today. This is the new Helifar Turtles 135. It's a little 3-inch X-frame quadcopter, and it looks like it's about a 4mm unibody bottom plate on here. It has a beeper on the back, LEDs, it has really cool anodized purple hardware, and best of all, it has a RunCam micro on the front that's fully enclosed top to bottom. Nothing is sticking out on this design, so I think they've been paying attention to what some of us have been saying about these camera protection sidewalls. So they're not the super thickest front end, but it does have two poles, two standoffs in the very front for protecting it top and bottom, so it's totally sandwiched in. And you also have a flat top on this quad, which is nice because if you decided to run a top mount battery, you could probably do that, or you can run the bottom mount there, or you can add some type of GoPro session on here, because this 3-inch quad will definitely carry a GoPro session. But let's go ahead out to the field now and let's do a little flying with this. Let's do some line of sight flying, and then we'll do some FPV. After that, we'll come into the studio. We'll do a little bench time with this little Turtles 135mm. Here we go.
Right.
A little flutter in this prop. It's not very balanced. Tune on it. Alright. Do some FPV. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do another review today, and we're going to do an FPV racing quad. This is a 3-inch quad, and it looks like it's from a new company. I've never even heard of them. They're called Helifar. This is the Turtles 135 micro FPV racing drone. It's running 3-inch gym fan props on here, and those are ones that I added that are not stock. They did have a little bit of vibes in my first initial flights. If you want a little bit of a softer flying prop, this is going to be the better option for that. They came in the box. These are quad props. Typically I fly the Tri-Props just because they have a little less amp draw and sag from the battery, so you're probably going to get a little longer flight time flying these because they're going to give a little faster RPM. If you want to put a speed prop on there, you can do something like a 2-bladed prop, but if you're using this quad for freestyle, I would definitely recommend Tri-Props on here. Now, this one did need a little bit of PID tuning because when I first initially punched out with it, it did have some noticeable vibration, and that might be because of the way the camera's mounted up here. It might not be totally solid right here, but this is a 1.5 millimeter sidewall, and it does have some standoffs top and bottom here for total protection. Right here, if you look at this a little bit closer here, you'll notice that it is indeed covered up. So no problems with frontal impact. If you hit a gate right there, you've got plenty of clearance right there. Look at that. That's at least 6 millimeter between the front before you're going to hit that RunCam micro lens. Now, it's nice that they did include the RunCam micro because it's a pretty respectable camera out in the FPV community right now. It's what a lot of people want. So when you see a bind and fly that has a RunCam micro on there, you know you're going to get good video. And also they have a video transmitter, speaking of that, on here that is capable up to 200 milliwatt. I've got my dipole back here, and I added a little bit of a zip tie right here with a little bit of extra heat shrink just to keep that up and away from the props. And for my receiver, it came with kind of just dangling behind the camera right here. They knew that you needed to probably put that down and put a little zip tie here for your antenna with a little bit of heat shrink. But it was super cool that in the box it did come with some zip ties, some smaller zip ties, and some heat shrink because they knew you were going to do this setup. And I just mounted mine. It already had a piece of VHB on here ready for me to just stick it down right underneath the camera, so it's nicely hidden away back there. I'm not really worried about it getting hit or anything like that. It's looking good. Now, on the top of this frame, if you look, you notice that it does have that flush mount. It's very, very flat up here, so you could mount a camera up here, or you can run a top mount battery if you wanted to, and just move your antenna back here for your VTX, which is cool. So you have top mount or bottom mount. Now, also inside the box, I wasn't super impressed. They give these type of straps along with it. You know, I'm not a big fan of these. They don't really hold up that well, and they're kind of a pain to use. Typically and traditionally, I like a buckle style strap. It just holds a little bit better on the battery. And I put a piece of Velcro down here. This is the hard Velcro on the bottom part, and the soft part goes on my battery. Now, the battery I chose was the 4S850. That's pretty standard for your 3-inch style quads. This Nanotech, I call these Nano Puffs because they generally puff up a lot after some hard use, so you will see some swelling on these. I'll try to put some links down below for a better battery choice for the Turtles here. But let's talk about performance. At half to 3/4 throttle, this one flew the best. Full throttle, it needed some tuning, like I said, right out of the box. The F3 flight controller on here, I was expecting to have 0 problems with vibes. So kind of strange because I did have brand new gem fans on here, and those are the 3052s. If you want to pick some of those up, you could, but you might just start out with these on this particular quad and go from there. But I gotta say, as far as a freestyle machine, this one did exceptionally well when I backed off the throttle a little bit and just kind of found my way in and out of those trees. I had a lot of fun with this quad. The power to weight ratio is not too bad. You do have 1306 motors on here. Those are called the GT 1306, and they're 3100 kV, so kind of a higher kV motor for
for running a 3-inch prop, which is totally acceptable. You have a beeper on back, which is great because if you do crash out in the field, you'll be able to walk up and find it. You have LEDs here, and for my power supply, my cable coming off the back for my XT30, I would definitely put some type of larger zip tie right there just to keep that snug. Try not to get it too close to the arm right there so it doesn't sever that power cable, because you get a big short out if you do that. But this will keep it from tugging on the ESC right here if your battery ejects off the bottom of your quad, and that'll save your tabs on your 4-in-1 ESC. If that breaks off, you're going to destroy your ESC, so keep that in mind. And on the bottom of this quad, it looks pretty clean. The whole layout here looks good. They have zip ties on the arms that are securing those motor wires so they don't come up into the props. I've seen other setups recently that didn't have that, so that's kind of a pet peeve of mine when companies don't do that, but it looks like Helifar did their job there. And as always, go over all the bolts on any China quad that you get. Make sure that everything is tight, especially the motor bolts. Don't over tighten them, of course, and you can come back and use a little dab of Loctite on your motor bolts if you'd like to, just to make sure they don't come vibrating out. Now the bottom of this, like I said before, it is a unibody style frame, and we're looking at 3mm thickness there and 1.5 on these top plates and the front sidewalls for the camera. Now I got my scale on. Let's just go ahead and weigh this little bad boy. Let's put the turtle on the scale and see what we get. 122.3 grams there, and that's the dry weight without a battery. So let's go ahead and add my suggested battery on there, that 4S 850, and we're under 200 grams, which is kind of crazy because I just reviewed the King Kong 200 GT. I don't know if you guys saw that review, but the dry weight on the GT for a 5-inch quad was 198 grams, and here's a 3-inch with a battery that's under 200 grams. That's a pretty respectable takeoff weight for a 3-inch. It's not a real heavy quad. So with the latest Betaflight on here, I think that's going to smooth up some of the vibe issues I had. It did come with an earlier version of Betaflight than the newest one out there. So update your firmware to 3.3 and you should have a smoother flying quad, and with a lot less vibes and actually a lot less PID tuning, because PID tuning, hey, it takes like an hour to get some quads smoothed out. So running 20 amp ESCs on here is totally fine for 4S, and it is a 4-in-1, so it has a pretty clean look on the whole thing. And I'm pretty happy that a lot of these quads now, they're coming with Betaflight OSD, which is awesome. I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day about running Minim OSD like 3 years ago when we had to hook up all the extra wire inside here, and it was a lot more inside the stack. So this Betaflight OSD really cleans things up a lot and allows this particular quad right here to kind of have a lowrider profile, which I really like a lot. It's a very thin profile. It's not super tall, and a lot of these racers are now looking shorter and shorter, which is what I really like. We're getting away from that super tall tower look like we had before a couple years ago. So pretty cool quad in here for the Turtles 135 Micro. It's actually going to be in my collection. I'm going to hold on to this one for quite some time and keep flying this on 3S, but I'll try to put some links down below for you guys for a suggested battery, because then again, I don't really suggest nanotechs on FPV racers because we do have a lot of throttle burst and it doesn't really seem to handle it too well. So keep them flying out there, guys, and check out this Turtles 135 in the link below. And again, I appreciate it, you guys watching the channel. If you see other people out there that need help this spring and summer, please do help others in the field. As always, pass on that knowledge you get from the Drone Camps channel to the next guy. So thanks again, guys, for watching. I'm Justin Davis. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.